What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, yesterday we did a video talking about the Detroit Lions pass rush and whether or not it would be good enough next year for the Detroit Lions to have success, or whether they needed another piece in order to do that. Now, if you haven't seen that video, go over and check it out and see what we came to the conclusion of. But in this video, I want to talk about the secondary because, honestly, the Detroit Lions put more capital into the secondary this year and trying to fix that up more than the defensive line. And the secondary had its own problems last year and they had their own struggles. So did the Detroit Lions do enough in the secondary this offseason in order for the Detroit Lions defense to have success? That is what we're going to be talking about today. However, before we get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribe to the channel. It takes 2 seconds out of your day to make mine, and I'd be very, very appreciative to everybody that chooses to do so. But with that being said, let's get into talking about this revamped secondary and whether or not it will be good enough for the Detroit Lions to have success in the 2020 season. Now, the Detroit Lions last year in the 2019 season had one of the worst secondaries in NFL history, as they gave up 4,551 passing yards in the NFL, which was by far the worst in the NFL. They allowed 33 passing touchdowns, which was tied for 30th, and they only had 7 interceptions, which was tied for the least in the NFL. Now, the Detroit Lions, as I mentioned, put a lot of capital into revamping and recreating the secondary, as they brought in guys like Desmond Trufant, Darryl Roberts, Tony McRae, Duron Harmon, Jeffrey Okudah, and Jaron Kearse to all play a role, come in and compete and play a role in this secondary for the 2020 season. However, just like the defensive line and the pass rush, it was not smooth sailing, as we did lose quite a few key contributors from this past season. With the big name being obviously Darius Slay, unhappy with the coaching staff and specifically Matt Patricia, so he got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we lost Rashawn Melvin and Tavon Wilson also to free agency. So we did lose a couple guys, but we brought in a lot more, and just like the defensive line, we might have lost a couple of key guys, but we brought in a lot of key contributors that could definitely take over their spot and help the secondary out more than the couple of guys that we lost did last season. Now, looking at the new positions and the players that are going to be in new spots, the Detroit Lions are going to look very different in the secondary this season, as they're going to have a new number 1 cornerback, a new number 2 cornerback, a new free safety, and they're going to have a new player playing in the strong safety position. Now, obviously, the strong safety this year, theoretically is going to be Tracy Walker, who is a veteran in the Detroit system, but he has not played there before, so that will be a new player at the position. So really the only returning player at the position is the slot cornerback in Justin Coleman, and we will talk about him a little bit later. But other than that, the entire secondary is going to look very, very different. New numbers, new names, new play style, and hopefully better results. Now, going through all of the secondary, or at least the big contributors in the secondary, I want to see, what they did last year, what they've done throughout their career, and whether or not they're going to help Detroit be a better secondary next season. Now, the first player we got to talk about is Desmond Trufant, the big name cornerback free agent that we brought in to kind of replace Darius Slay and be that veteran presence in the locker room, in the DB room. Now, Desmond Trufant last year played in 9 games for the Atlanta Falcons, had 18 total tackles, 7 passes defended, and 4 interceptions, while giving up a 65.8% completion percentage against him, allowing 436 yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, the 4 touchdowns wasn't, it's not a good thing. You don't want to see him getting scored on 4 times in only 9 games. But the 4 interceptions is great. The 7 passes defended is great. The completion percentage and the yards allowed isn't horrible. We can live with that. But, obviously you don't want to see him giving up touchdowns. But I think the touchdowns was more a product of the Falcon system. Now, I'm not saying that Desmond Trufant is not at fault at all. He definitely had his struggles last season, as did the rest of the Atlanta Falcons defense. I don't think that the Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator or whoever was calling the defense put them in the best spot to succeed. Desmond Trufant to me is more of a man cornerback, and the Atlanta Falcons play a lot of zone coverage. They play a lot of cover 3, which is not something that Desmond Trufant thrives in. I think Desmond Trufant coming to Detroit, I think a big reason he came here is because we're such a heavy man system. He's going to get to play man a lot, which is where he thrives more than anything. And I think in this man-heavy system, Desmond Trufant is going to re-emerge as that star that he was in his early days. When the Atlanta Falcons played a lot more man, he's going to re-emerge as that top shutdown cornerback that we all saw in like the 2013 to 2015 seasons. Moving on to Jeffrey Okudah, the new cornerback 2, or the projected cornerback 2 in this Detroit Lions system. Now, Jeffrey Okudah obviously is a rookie, being the 3rd overall pick in this past 2020 NFL draft. In college last season, Jeffrey Okudah played in 13 games games for the Ohio State Buckeyes, had 28 total tackles. You know, this is kind of where it gets crazy because he was targeted 29 times in his junior season last year with the Ohio State Buckeyes. He was targeted 29 times, had 9 passes defended, 3 interceptions, and only gave up a long of 12-yard reception. I'm not sure exactly how many completions he allowed, but we know that, you know, he at least, out of those 29 targets, 3 of them were intercepted and 9 of them were defended. I know he did not give up a lot of passes. I know he did not give up a lot of yards. He was a true shutdown corner in Ohio State, and many analysts believe that he is the best Ohio State cornerback to come out in the past decade, if not ever, from Ohio State, who has put out so many, you know, all pros, Hall of Fame type DBs in recent years. So I think he's going to be a great cornerback. You know, I think he's going to be shut down. I think as soon as he steps on the field, he has the attitude, he has the work ethic. You know, he just loves football. He lives and breathes football, and he's going to be a great cornerback in this league. I truly believe he will be an all-pro at some point in his career. I truly believe that as soon as his rookie season, he could make the Pro Bowl, and as soon as his sophomore season, he could be considered in that all-pro kind of category. So I think he will be great. I think it was, even though the 3rd overall pick might not have been exactly what some people in Detroit wanted. Some people wanted Isaiah Simmons. Some people wanted Derrick Brown. Some, you know, a lot of people necessarily didn't want Jeffrey Okudah. But I do think that even though we could have maybe gotten a better player at the position, Jeffrey Okudah was not a bad player. He was not a horrible pick. And he will be a shutdown corner locking down in this secondary for a very long time to come. Moving on to our cornerback 3 in Justin Coleman, our slot cornerback. Now, Justin Coleman last year played in 16 games for the Detroit Lions, had 54 total tackles, 13 passes defended, 1 interception, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. Now, Justin Coleman was a dog in the slot in the first couple weeks, right? He played in the slot, I believe, from like week 1 to 5. He played purely in the slot, and he was an animal. This dude was forcing fumbles. He was getting interceptions, had so many passes defended and breakups, and, you know, he was playing out of his mind, and he was top 5 in a lot of CB categories in the first couple weeks. But then the injuries started piling. He moved to the outside and really struggled on the outside with his lack of size, and honestly, he's not the fastest guy either. So with his lack of size and speed, he really struggled on the boundary with some of the bigger, faster, stronger wide receivers in the NFL. So his stats as far as completion percentage allowed, yards allowed, touchdowns allowed, and quarterback rating allowed look much worse than they actually were, because he is purely a slot defender. You know, he is a guy that if you put him in the slot, you are going to feel confident that he is, you know, you're going to feel confident that he's going to shut down whoever's in the slot. But if you move him outside on the boundaries, that's where stuff starts to get a little bit dicey. However, in this season, you know, obviously we're hoping injuries aren't better, but I think we stacked up the secondary enough that even if injuries start occurring again, we still have enough guys to put on the outside that we don't have to put Justin Coleman in that susceptible position where, you know, he can be picked on. We're going to put him in a position where he's going to play to his strength, and he's going to be looking like the Justin Coleman of the early or of the early 2019 season. Moving on to our 4th cornerback, Amari Rodgers. Now, this guy last year was a 5th-round pick. He came in for 9 games. He played in 9 games last year for the Detroit Lions. Had 19 total tackles, 3 passes defended, and 2 interceptions. And this guy was so good last year that a lot of Detroit Lions fans felt we didn't even need Jeffrey Okudah. They felt, you know, we're just going to rock with Desmond Trufant, and we're going to rock with Amari Rodgers, and we're going to be a shutdown secondary anyway. And that gives us the flexibility to go get an Isaiah Simmons, to go get a Derrick Brown, and really fix another part of this team. Now, obviously, the Detroit Lions didn't do that, but just because we got Jeffrey Okudah doesn't mean Amani's not going to play. Amani's going to have great time. He's going to have, you know, he's going to play a lot of snaps this season. He's going to rotate with Desmond Trufant. He's going to rotate with Amari Rodgers on the boundary, and, you know, he's going to make the most of his situations because he did it last year. He only played in 9 games, really didn't play a ton throughout his rookie season, and still made an impact and still had 2 interceptions, which I believe led the team. Now, moving on to our 5th and final cornerback we will be talking about today is Darryl Roberts. Now, Darryl Roberts is another free agent pickup the Lions got in this past free agent class. Now, Darryl Roberts last year played in 13 games for the New York Jets, had 63 total tackles, 6 passes defended, 1 interception, and he was a starting cornerback last year for the Jets. He played in pretty much every game for them that he was healthy, and he's going to be our cornerback 5. Like, I think that just shows you how stacked our cornerback room is. A starting cornerback for the New York Jets last year, a team that went 7-9. This cornerback started every single game that he could for them. He's going to be our cornerback 5. Like, our secondary is that talented that a guy that is talented enough to be a starting cornerback on a 7-9 team, a very average team, and a team that had a better record than the Lions, is going to be our cornerback 5 and might not even see the field that much during the 2020 NFL season. So I think he's a good cornerback. I think he's very solid, obviously being starting caliber in the NFL, but he's going to be our cornerback 5. He's not going to play a whole lot unless injuries start to stack up. He might be that, he might be that backup to Justin Coleman in the slot, but I don't think he's going to play a whole lot in the NFL season, but I do think when he does play, he's going to be a fantastic fifth cornerback, and he is by far the best fifth cornerback in the NFL, which might not sound great, but that just goes to show you how talented this cornerback room is. Moving on to the safeties, obviously we brought in Duron Harmon. We traded for him from the New England Patriots to come in and be our new starting free safety. Now, while Duron Harmon has not started a full career or a full season in his career so far, he has had a significant amount of snaps as he did play in all 16 games for the New England Patriots last year. Had 22 total tackles, 5 passes defended, and 2 interceptions, as well as 1 pass defended and 1 interception in their playoff loss against the Tennessee Titans. Now, Duron Harmon, even though he has not been a full-time starter anytime in his NFL career, as I said, has had significant playing time throughout his career, as he's played in a lot of snaps. He's played a lot of football throughout his career, and he has never gone he's never gone a season without an interception in the NFL, and he did that while not playing a full-time safety position. So what is he going to do when he is playing a full season? He had 4 interceptions as basically a backup and a situational player. So what is Duron Harmon going to do in this secondary where he is going to be the full-time safety? He's going to play in likely 90 to 100% of the defensive snaps every single week for the Detroit Lions if he is healthy. So what is he going to do? How many interceptions is this guy going to get? His nickname is the closer. Like, that's what the Detroit Lions couldn't do last year. They brought this guy in to close out football games. He has so many interceptions in the fourth quarter. He has so many interceptions where the game is on the line, the defense needs a play, and Duron Harmon is usually the guy to make that play. I think this is one of the most underrated signings in the free agency class for the Detroit Lions, or the most underrated free agent move, offseason move by the Detroit Lions. Obviously he wasn't a free agent, he was a trade. I think this is one of the most underrated offseason moves by the Detroit Lions. And this guy, I guarantee at some point in the season, he's going to get a fourth quarter interception to seal the game. And we're all going to thank Bill Belichick for giving this man to us, because I truly believe he is going to transform the secondary and make it a great secondary, because he has the ability, he has the athletic ability and the football IQ to be a great free safety. And, obviously if he's closing out games for the Detroit Lions, it's a pick well spent, because I don't think we're going to get a safety like Duron Harmon in the later rounds of the NFL draft. Moving on to starting strong safety, obviously a lot of people think Tracy Walker is going to start there. Now, Tracy Walker last year played in 13 games for the Detroit Lions, had 103 total tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 8 passes defended, and 1 interception. Now, a lot of people believe he is primed for a breakout season, and I am one of those people. I think Tracy Walker just has a great combination of size, speed, athleticism. He has a great mindset for football. He has great football IQ. He learned under Glover Quinn. He learned under Quandre Diggs. He's now learning under Duron Harmon, and he has such great football IQ. He has such a great mindset. He's got all the athletic ability in the world. He's got the size, the speed, the hands, the length, he has everything that you need to be a great safety in the NFL. And going into his 3rd season with all this veteran leadership he's learned under, like as I said, he learned under Glover Quinn, who was a great, very smart NFL DB. He learned under Quandre Diggs, who was a great NFL DB. He's learned under Duron Harmon, who we just talked about, who is a very smart and great NFL DB. Like, he's had great mentors, and now I think this season he's going to put it all together. And I think by the end of the season, if the Detroit Lions have team success, Tracy Walker is going to be looked at as one of the elites in the NFL, because he's that good that, the only reason he's not getting the recognition now is because the Detroit Lions aren't having team success. Moving on to kind of our safeties 2 and 3. These guys are going to rotate around a little bit, and they're not purely free or strong safeties. Nobody is, but these are just guys that are going to play the safety position or other positions in the secondary that they aren't going to be starters, and they might not have a specific you stay in this position, but they're definitely going to have an impact on this team. Now, that first player is Jaron Kearse, the free agent that we brought in from the Minnesota Vikings. Now, Jaron Kearse is 6'2", 225. He is a big athletic guy, just like Tracy Walker. He can play any position you want. Jaron Kearse can play free safety, he can play strong safety, he can play box, he can play deep, he can even rush the passer, he can play in the slot. Like, he did everything for the Minnesota Vikings when he was there, and that versatility is something I love from him. That's why I think he's going to be great and successful in Detroit. But that's why I think the Detroit Lions brought him in, is because they can have a guy that is versatile, that can rush the passer, that can cover, that can hit hard, that can stop the run and play deep and stop, the speedy receivers over the top. Like, he is so athletically gifted and so good at football that he can do anything the Detroit Lions want him to do on this team. And even though he won't be playing until week 4, when he does eventually get there and does eventually pad up for the Detroit Lions in week 4 against the New Orleans Saints, he's going to have a huge impact on this team. And, you know, I think this is one of the best free agent signings the Detroit Lions made this season. Now, Jaron Kearse played in 15 games for the Minnesota Vikings last year, had 28 total tackles, 6 passes defended, and 1 interception. So, you know, did a lot for the Minnesota Vikings, was kind of that Swiss Army knife, that utility tool that, you know, I think a lot of teams are looking for, and the Detroit Lions finally found their guy in Jaron Kearse, who is going to have a huge and monster impact on the team. And then the other safety that I believe will have significant playing time and have a huge impact on this team is Will Harris. Now, Will Harris last year was a starter for the Detroit Lions late in the season, and I'm not going to lie, he struggled as a rookie, but, you know, as a third-round rookie coming out of Boston College, you know, you're going to expect some rookie growing pains. Now, Will Harris played in 16 games for the Detroit Lions, had 43 total tackles, 1 sack, 3 passes defended, and 1 tackle for loss. I think he's a very good box safety. I don't think he's super good in coverage. You know, he can cover around the line of scrimmage. You know, if the running back goes out on a flat route, if the tight end goes out on a flat route or something short, you know, he can definitely cover it, but I don't think that he is necessarily a deep coverage safety. He's not very good at it. You know, it's just something he struggles with. That's why he went in the third round, is because he's not good at it. You know, I think he's a very good box safety, and I think the Detroit Lions could sub him in, you know, in the box. They could put him as that box safety on short running downs, because he is a very hard hitter. He is a very good run support safety, and I think that does have value in the NFL. That does have value on the Detroit Lions, but I don't think that he is going to be good enough to start in the Detroit Lions. But he will play significant time and will have an impact on the team, and I guarantee we do see him make some plays this season as a sophomore. I think he's going to start figuring some stuff out in the NFL. I think he's going to take a step forward his sophomore season, and I think that he will be a great Detroit Lion come next season and make good plays for the line. Now, we're going to talk about the other members of the secondary. These are guys that probably won't make huge impacts in the secondary, but might have special teams value, or just might be good competition for the secondary members that we already talked about. Now we obviously have Miles Killebrew still, who is a special teams captain, you know, great special teams locker room guy, who I think is, you know, I think the Detroit Lions coaches like him a lot. I think everybody in Detroit likes him because he's just, you know, he's a great player. He's a great special teams guy, great leader in the locker room. So I think he is going to be good on special teams. Kind of the same thing with Mike Ford and Tony McRae. I think they're going to be good special teams guy. I like Mike Ford in the secondary, but I just don't know how much he's going to play with all the depth and talent we have in that cornerback room. Tony McRae, we brought in from the Cincinnati Bengals to really be a special teams guy with Braden Coombs, who is our new special teams coordinator, who played with him in Cincinnati. You know, I think Tony McRae is going to be a great special teams guy, but I don't think he's going to contribute to the secondary very much. We brought in 3 very, very talented undrafted free agent safeties, and Jeremiah Denson, the safety from Auburn, Jalen Elliott, the safety from Notre Dame, and Bobby Price, the safety from Norfolk State. I think all of these guys are very, very talented, and they're all going to be competing with each other, as well as these NFL veterans, to get a spot on the Detroit Lions roster. And I think all of them have a very realistic chance of making this Detroit Lions team, or at the very least making the practice squad. So, looking at the secondary overall, I really, really like it. I think it's so talented, and honestly, on paper, this looks like an elite secondary. On paper, this looks like it should be the best secondary in the NFL. Whether that is going to happen or not is yet to be seen. We have to wait and see when we do play the Chicago Bears, when we do play the Green Bay Packers early in the season, whether the secondary stands up to what we believe it should be. But on paper, it looks like an elite secondary, and it looks like the Detroit Lions did a fantastic job building the secondary up to be the next no-fly zone. That is all I got for you guys today. I think the secondary is fantastic. Could we add maybe another piece or two here and there? There is a guy that I really like that I will make a video on at some point that I think would just absolutely transform and transcend in the secondary. But, you know, I don't think they need another guy. I think the Detroit Lions are set at the secondary. I think that they're going to have a great secondary this season. They're going to be the next shutdown, you know, no-fly zone, Legion of Boom type defense that just doesn't allow a lot of big plays and doesn't allow a lot of passing. With that being said, though, that is all I have for you guys today. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like the video, as I always ask. Takes 2 seconds already to make mine, but with that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. There is Lions news before tomorrow. I'll obviously make a video letting everybody know, but if there is no Lions news, you know, if there is no Lions news, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. But with that being said, that's all I got. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.